Pretend I'm 19 years old, just like I was. I lived in a mobile home, just had moved out, didn't have any money. What would you teach me about how I can basically, because kind of your formula is you pay $1,000 and you make $3,000.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like tripling your money.
Yeah.
So pull back the curtain. Like, how does somebody listening, how do I, in my 20-year-old self, actually do that? First of all, where do I go?
Mm-hmm.
How do I find the listings? How do I list it on Airbnb so that it's always full, right? Like those three things. How do you find them? And how do you manage them? And then how to automate it. That's also a great story. But what would you tell me?
Okay, well, let's talk about first of all how it works.
Yep.
So let's take a typical example of a $1,000 property. This works whether you're in a $3,000 a month place or a $500 a month place. So don't pay attention so much to the number. So let's take $1,000 a month rental, like a one bedroom, and we're going to put it on Airbnb. And the reason that we can make $3,000 with it is because we're charging more per day or per night for somebody to stay there than what it costs us to control the property.
Right.
So if it's like $50 a night to control and we're charging $150 or $200 on Airbnb, then that difference is profit.
Yeah.
So an example is one of the properties I have where I live in the Charleston area is $1,000 a month, and it brings in between $3,000 and $5,000 a month, depending. So, and then I got to pay utilities out of that. But pretty much you're able to make that spread between what you're paying for it and controlling it for and what you're making on Airbnb. And it's the same game that hotels play. So hotels pay their mortgage, but then they chop up that property into rooms, and each room is sold by the night. So we're essentially buying wholesale, selling retail. It's no different. So that's what we're doing. And there's a couple different ways to do that. You can control the property through a lease where you get the owner to sign on and get permission from them.
Is that the best case scenario?
I love that because you don't give the owner any of the profits. The agreement I have with owners is I keep all the profit and I just pay them what they're asking for. So they're already looking for a renter and I'm the renter.
So you basically find properties that are for rent.
Already for rent, already on the market. Yep.
On the market.
And they're actively looking.
Where do you look to find them?
Okay, there's a lot of places. I look online. You know, Craigslist surprisingly is still a great place to look. Local papers. I drive through neighborhoods. Signs in yards for rent signs are great places.
I thought you were going to say you do drive-bys.
I do drive-bys.
I kill one way to control property.
Give me these homes.
You kill the owner and then you get it for free.
Yeah, no, driving through neighborhoods is good because you're trying to get to the owner, not the property manager. And usually an owner will put a handwritten sign in the front yard so you know, oh, that's the owner.
Okay.
So I drive neighborhoods. Local real estate investing associations are great because people there generally own a bunch of properties. So you can get one, which leads into many properties. So you're basically presenting yourself as, hey, I'm the best tenant that you could lease this property to. And if you lease it to me, I'll lease it for many, many years and essentially just pitch them on the idea of what you're going to do.
So you are open and honest. You tell them, look, I'm going to put this on Airbnb because you don't want to surprise people.
No, you will get burned.
You
will get burned if you do it the other way.
Contract and kick you out.
Yeah, they could sue you and they could, who knows. So
do you have a special contract that actually they actually sign saying they understand what you're going to do?
It's an addendum. So I just use a standard lease and then a one-page addendum, essentially an add-on that just says, Brian Page is not going to live in this property, and he has my permission to put this property on the home sharing sites and let guests stay there.
Yeah.
And so once they sign those two documents, then I'm good to go.
Yeah.
And so that's the way I like to do it because I get to keep all the profit for myself. The other way is to partner, and that's just simply like, hey, Ty, I see you got a house here for rent. You're asking $1,000. What if I get you $1,500 or $1,700 a month for that property with no extra work on your part?
Yeah.
Would you want to hear about it? Sure. Yeah. Tell me how that works. Well, I'm going to take your home, put it on Airbnb. I think it'll make $3,000, $3,500 a month. We'll split everything over the $1,000 that you need to get for your normal rent.
So you'll basically give them what they would. Guarantee you $1,000 and then 50-50 above that.
Yeah. And if you don't like it, tell me to take a hike and in 30, 60 days I'll walk and we'll part ways. So that's a great model to go. And you look for furnished properties if you're going to do that.
And that's a good way, especially for people who maybe don't have good credit and can't actually lease something.
You don't need credit. You don't need credit, and you're not even signing a lease. So you don't need to sign any paperwork.
So that lets you be able to walk away from it if you don't like it.
You can walk away. I mean, you want to put an agreement together that says this is our agreement, but it's not a lease that ties you in for any period of time.
So for anybody listening who's a little more fear-based, this is a good way to start.
This is the way to...
You make a little less money potentially because you don't control the property and get all the upside. Because for you, if you rent it for $1,000 and you can figure out, like in high season in South Carolina, when there's a lot of people vacation, you might make $5,000 or $6,000 that month. Because you can get lucky if the hotels are full and there's a special event in town. You can just jack the prices up on Airbnb big time. I was here in New York. I landed coming back from London, and it's Fashion Week, and like everything is jacked up.
Yep.
Even it's like Uber has their surge pricing. You can do the same thing with Airbnb.
You can surge,